Good afternoon, students. This is Mr. Schmidt over at NEW Lutheran High School in Green Bay, and I'm going to be recording for you a quick lesson on how to use Tinkercad to design a print that you can then turn into something you can print on your Bamboo P1S. So hopefully this goes well, and you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing. First things first, I brought in an object here, so I'm actually going to make a basketball bag tag. That's my goal at least. And I was just going to make kind of a basic one that you could use at your school if you wanted. So I brought this image of a basketball, and I can show you in a different lesson how I find my images. But you probably can find something like this if you go to like Thingiverse, or if you go to Printables. Those are a couple websites I use. But this is just an outline to a basketball. It's an SVG file that I brought in. And I scaled it down to be a 60 by 60 millimeter file. Then I went ahead and brought in a cylinder from over here on the right hand side and made the cylinder also 60 by 60, and I'm going to actually make the ball black and the cylinder orange. I'm going to left click and drag across both to get them both highlighted. Go up here to where it says align, and I'm going to choose to align it center and center, or I can go edge and edge. Okay, now this is where you maybe have gotten this far already, where you have two objects and you're kind of next to each other. But I actually want to make it so that the black of the basketball is showing through on both sides. So I'm kind of making a bag tag. You can think of it maybe like a keychain too if you like. I'm going to show you kind of two methods to make this. So here's what I'm going to do next. I want to make sure I have a spot where I can put the keychain. So I'm going to bring another cylinder in, and I'll make it smaller. I think about a 3 millimeter by 3 millimeter hole is probably good. And I'm going to bring that hole close to where I want to put it. So you're looking at this object and you're thinking, okay, so you can see there's black that's in the way of the orange, and that's not going to work so well. Sorry, that's our bell right here at school. And I can see here on the edge here, I've got just a little bit of orange sticking out past the black. I actually want black to be around the whole edge. So I'm going to shrink this orange circle down just a little. I'm going to bring it down to 59.8 and 59.8. And then I'll do a center line again to get everything lined up really nice. Center, center. Now I should have black going all the way around the outside, which I do. That's perfect. All right, now here's where the magic happens. So I actually want to make two objects. One object is going to be sitting next to the other object. So what I'll do is I want to get the black to be its own object sitting right next to the orange of the rest of the ball. So I click on just the black, just the outline. I'm going to duplicate that outline, and then the duplicate I'm going to make into a hole. So now I've got a hole that's of the same size, shape, and dimensions as the black part of the basketball. And while I still have that hole selected, I'm going to press the Shift key on my keyboard and select the orange of the circle that I've got behind it. So I've got those two shapes selected. I'm going to then group those two shapes. You're going to see what's going to happen here. It's basically erasing all the black that's interfering, all the orange interfering with the black lines. And now it makes it look really clean. So I actually technically have two objects. I have the orange and I have the black. Undo, undo, but I have them right next to each other. And that's the part the Bamboo understands. So when you bring in shapes, the Bamboo is going to understand the location of those different shapes. Now going back to the circle here, I do want to have this little hole for my keychain, so I'm going to click on that cylinder. I'm going to press Shift, click on the black part, and I'm going to do an alignment. And I'm going to choose the black part to be the place it aligns to, so I'm going to align to the edge of the black there and to the center of the black there. Then I'm going to click off. I'm going to take this cylinder, and I can do a hole that's right on the edge, but that's not going to work so well for a keychain. So I'm actually going to move it into the print 2 millimeters. I just used keystrokes on my keyboard to move it 2 millimeters in. And now I'm going to group this circle with the orange part of the basketball. And I just put a hole in my keychain. Now you can go all kind of wild and crazy with this. You can put like a name on here. You can put a name on the back side. There's a couple of different ways you can do stuff. But this is just a real quick model for you to take a look at so you can see how do you now print this on your Bamboo using two colors. So I've got a Bamboo up, and I'm going to start a new project over here. I'm going to do this on the other screen. and I'll bring it over. Okay. So here is my Bamboo printer, and I apologize if it looks kind of funky. It's difficult on my monitor here for it to understand what I want. I'm going to actually load orange into bay 1. I've already got black in bay 2, and I've got my printer set up over here on the side. I'm going to minimize that. Come back to my bag tag. So as I'm looking at my bag tag, as I said, it's 2 files. I've got a black and I've got an orange. And when I offload these, when I export them, I need to do each one individually. Just checking to make sure this is actually on the bed. It is. Okay. So I like to just name it like black. And I'm going to click on the black part and choose Export STL. Now, without moving or changing anything else, I'm going to go to the orange. I'm going to retitle it Orange. I'm going to export STL. So you may have seen my monitor, my computer pull those 2 files off. I've got a file that's St. Paul basketball bag tag black and St. Paul basketball bag tag orange. Let me go back into Bamboo. When I bring these objects in, I'm going to bring both of them in together. So I'm actually going to click on both parts, the black part and the orange part. I'm going to hit open, and it's going to give me this little pop-up that says load these files as a single object with multiple parts. Yes, we want to do that. So when I do that, you can see, okay, it's got them on there, but how do I make it so that it makes the black part black and the orange part orange? Looks like everything is orange right now. Well, to do that, you're going to go here under the menu where it says Objects. Like I said, you brought 2 objects in at the same time, but you can tell which color you want each object to be. So obviously my tag, that part is already orange, that's why I label it the color. But I want to make this other part black. So I'm going to click on this little rectangle here. You have to click 2 or maybe 3 times. Click on the color you want it to be. And when you click off, presto changeo, you now have black filament. So the printer will know that you want to put orange where it says orange and black where it says black. A little side hack is sometimes you have to move your prime tower so that the printer will actually print. So you might have to adjust the placement of that. Another small side hack I like to talk about is if you go here, not objects, but global, and choose strength, there's a spot here that says detect thin walls. Your 3D printer has a 0.4 millimeter nozzle on it, but if you want to print things that are just a little cleaner, if you want it to be able to fill in some of the gaps, by checking this box, it will be able to do just a little bit cleaner print. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to slice this print. And you might be surprised, this tiny basketball is going to take 44 minutes. That's a pretty long time. And I'll talk to you a little bit about how increasing the number of things you print is also a benefit. But if I get in close, you can see when it's printing these parts here, it should be fine. This whole basketball thing's not too thin. But right here by the ring, you can see there's kind of a dead spot right here, where the orange is going to be kind of a dead spot. Well, if I check this box and re-slice it, it's going to do its best to fill that little bit of a dead spot in. So that's the one thing with checking that box of detect thin walls. It just helps to fill in some of the little oopsies that you might have in your print. Like this little corner over here, without thin walls, it would have probably left a bigger gap in here. Again, it's not a big deal, but it's a little piece just to kind of be aware of. All right, so that is a real quick tutorial on how to make it print multiple colors on one object. And you can feel free to let me know if you have any more questions.